Welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and today's guest is Dr. Sandy Gluckman, speaking on healthy parenting to raise emotionally resilient children. Dr. Sandy Gluckman describes her quest as saving the next generation from a growing explosion of learning, behavior, and mood problems. Her work is rooted in the science that shows that children will thrive when parents thrive. Dr. Sandy empowers parents to raise healthy, resilient, confident children primed for success, for showing them how to first heal themselves. Dr. Gluckman is sought after for her expertise on a range of children's challenges, such as anxiety, defiance, emotional resilience, self-worth, screen addiction, stress as a survival mechanism, and the sensitive child. Rather than offering quick fix, superficial solutions to these complex issues, Dr. Sandy uses science to teach parents how to create the kind of parent-child neurochemistry that prevents and heals these problems. She is the founder of a private practice, Parenting That Heals, where she consults with couples, families, and children. Dr. Sandy's work is based on her unique blend of her studies in functional medicine, interpersonal neurobiology, and psychology, woven together with her own insights and experience. She's consulted with and trained thousands of parents and teachers in different parts of the world. Her signature programs called Parenting That Heals and Teaching That Heals the Brain are presented in live workshops as well as online. Dr. Sandy is the author of Parents Take Charge, Healing Learning, Behavior, and Mood Challenges Without Medication, and Who's in the Driver's Seat? Leading with Spirit. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Thank you, Dr. Laura. Thank you for inviting me.
This is going to be fun. We're going to talk about healthy parenting to raise emotionally resilient children. And I mean, that's a pretty heavy title. And I think it's something that as parents, we're all looking to have emotionally resilient children, right? But where do we learn how to do that? I think that's the challenge that a lot of today's parents are finding.
Yes, very much so. And, Dr. Laura, I think that we need to, first of all, if I could say, that more than any other time ever, this is a time where children need emotional resilience. They need confidence. They need that resilience because this is a very pressurized, challenging, stressful world that they're going into. And without resilience and confidence, it becomes really tough to navigate for children. So even before the pandemic, it was always an issue in my practice. Parents would come to me, and really one of the very first few questions they would ask me is, Dr. Sandy, how can I build my child's self-worth, self-confidence, and how can I get my child to be to self-regulate and to be emotionally resilient? So it was on everybody's mind for already many years before. But when you add the pandemic to the story, it becomes even more vital that the parents know how to do that.
I completely agree. We're all under an increased stressful and energetic conditioning or pressure cooker. Like we're all experiencing that for this past year. So children are not immune to that. And certainly when they see their parents more stressed out, even if they don't understand why, it makes them scared.
It does. And that's really also very much the basis of my work. It is simply put, it's that whatever's going on inside of the parent is going on inside of the child. So we are energetically and vibrationally passing on the stress that we're feeling in ourselves, even our thoughts and our beliefs and our feelings. Are all wiring the child's brain in exactly the same kind of way. So it becomes so important for us as moms and dads and grandparents to really understand that I need to be able to be calm and serene and actually confident myself and to have emotional resilience, to display emotional resilience myself, because then that will be mirrored in my children.
That's right. And, we know the subconscious mind is formed those first 7 years. So I would say, especially then, right? The children are like, they need that co-regulation from their parents.
Yes,
Is there an age where they start to outgrow that?
you know, I have found, because I see children of so many of all ages, that we never outgrow that. In a sense, we always need to see our parents in a very positive light. We need to feel that a positive, energetic vibration coming from our parents, and how they show up is really, really important to us at pretty much any age.
Right. I can see that. And especially when children are really young. Like I have a 3-year-old son, so he's really not able to neurologically regulate his emotions. His nervous system is still developing. So he's very dependent on the people closest to him to help him with that.
Yes, and he is just mirroring what's going on inside of you. So you're wiring him every day with the things you say, the way you behave, the words you choose, the look on your face. All of that is wiring him all the time. And so, if I may, this is a good place for me to say that one of the things, the hugest things I've discovered that causes that lack of self-confidence and that low emotional resilience is that children begin to believe, some children, and we'll talk about perhaps about why, but some children begin to believe that they're not good enough. I'm not enough. Like who I am and how I am is just not enough. And that's a really painful belief to be carrying around inside of us. And often, unfortunately, with all the love in the world and the best intentions in the world, parents are actually subtly sending that message because we so much want our children to be perfect and to get it right and to be the most marvelous aspect of themselves, that we keep telling them to try harder, to be better, to reach further. And basically the underlying message is, well, right now it's okay, but you're not quite enough yet.
Right. And parents don't even realize they're sending that message. I'm sure it's almost never intentional, but that message is sent. And it's interesting. A lot of the personal development I've done as adult, we talk about like this almost universal that people feel an essence of themselves that they're not enough. They're not good enough. They're not whatever. Right.
It's so interesting you say that,
yeah.
Dr. Laura, because you're right. It's almost universal.
Right.
And the thing is that what I've again noticed in my work is that when a mom and or a dad are feeling like they're not good enough, in their own neural pathway, they have this sort of core belief, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. The child picks it up and then mirrors exactly the same thing. So the work really for me begins with the parents.
Always.
Yeah.
That's everything. It always starts with the parents, and I think that's sometimes hard for parents to swallow, right? They're like, fix my child. And when you really understand conscious parenting, and from what I'm hearing, the essence of what healthy parenting is, it's like, you got to do the work on yourself first, and the child will heal from that.
That's exactly true, which is why my practice is rather unique in the sense that my goal, although I talk about my clients or my patients as if they are the children, because they are my patients, my goal is never to see the child, because my goal is to empower the parents with the knowledge, the information, and the parenting tools to be able to wire their children's brains for confidence, resilience, be able to learn positively, and be able to feel good about who they are, relate well to other children, and just love life. So if it's through the parents, I feel that doesn't make a lot of sense to bring the child to me, which used to be I call it the old-fashioned idea. And then I do good work and the child gets back in the car, and then unintentionally the parents unwire what I was doing and rewire them back into the very program that is causing problems.
Wow. It's going to that root cause. I mean, that's what we're all about here with functional medicine and really supporting the body and healing, whether like we're talking about psychological healing. And rewiring the nervous system. I mean, I do that with chiropractic adjustments, but I love how you're talking about this programming with children and how as parents we can be so much more conscious about how we program our child essentially, and that subconscious mind, man, that drives the ship for the rest of our life. So there's a lot of power that parents have to help create that empowerment.
Yes. I mean, the parents can literally change the trajectory of a child's life when they've actually spent some time to take a look at what's unfinished work inside of me that I am unintentionally passing on to my children.
I mean, I can't wait to hear this. It sounds so juicy about how to get there. But what's coming up for me is I want to share a parenting win that recently happened in my life. So my son's teacher, who's in preschool, wrote him a card in January, thanking him for her holiday gift. And she wrote in there that she was just sharing about different things that he's been saying and doing in class and stuff that I'm not aware of because I'm not there. And she said, all of a sudden one day he stood up in front of the other 3-year-olds and said, "My name is Finley Thompson and I am awesome."
Oh my God.
And she said the whole class cracked up. And I'm like, wow, like I've never, from what I can tell, verbally said that to him. I don't really know if I ever said, "Hey, you're awesome," but that's how he feels about himself. And that made me feel so good as a mom.
Oh, that is a beautiful story. And if he's feeling that way now, and you're obviously doing something right to get him to feel that way, whatever you're doing, carry on doing it because you are wiring him in the right direction. And Dr. Laura, that kind of brings me to another very important point, and that is that is a very stressful feeling to have in your neural pathway, or a belief that you're not enough. It causes a huge amount of stress hormones to start flooding the system, because every time that child has that sense of not enoughness, it's going to be secreting cortisol. And what eventually happens is that the child's brain becomes inflamed. And so these children with inflamed brains, as you know, because it's a stress issue, they begin to display behaviors of fight or flight or freeze. And then once again, they are kind of given the message that that behavior is not acceptable. You shouldn't be withdrawn or depressed. That's the flight part. You definitely should not be defiant and have these temper tantrums. That's the fight part. And don't be afraid to try new things. That's the freeze part. And so it just strengthens their feeling of I'm just not good enough. And for me, every single thing comes down to the real underlying root cause being the stress hormones.
Right. And so it's really creating this hormonal imbalance. And we could say even chronically, it's creating dis-ease within the body with even adrenal fatigue and other imbalances with the body and how it's functioning, like chronic tummy aches, headaches. I see that in children coming into my office. I mean, these kids are stressed, and this is how stress manifests. You don't have to be an adult to feel stress in your body and have physical symptoms.
That is so true. And I love that you practice functional medicine. I wish you were right around the corner from where I practice.
And vice versa.
It would be such a brilliant combination.
It really would be. I mean, this is a real thing. And then, I was even having a conversation with the acupuncturist in my office this morning about women going through fertility. We see a lot of women in our practice that are having fertility challenges and they're stressed about not being able to get pregnant, but yet they're, working 50, 60 hours a week, and just their life is so full and stressful as is. And now they're like stressed about having a baby. And of course, if we step back, we could say, well, it's not really biologically safe for that woman to get pregnant when she has such a high stress level, right? Like if you're being chased by a tiger, why would your body allow you to get pregnant? But she's just thinking, well, this is my lifestyle. And now let me just throw another thing on my plate. And why isn't it working, right? So we were saying how these women that are entering pregnancy with adrenal fatigue are then actually creating babies with adrenal fatigue because the fetus is literally giving its mother adrenal hormones to supplement her depletion, and they're born with hypertrophied adrenals, and you're setting this child up for chronic fight or flight even as an infant.
That is amazing, because I always teach all my clients about that. These fetuses that have been in stressed wombs, those children really, they have the HPA axis dysregulation already at birth, and so they are set up. They're kind of wired at that very, very early stage to be very vulnerable to stress. But you know, Dr. Laura, there's another interesting thing, and I've discovered that these children who are born to very stressed moms, they are born with very sensitive natures, sensitive,
Easily triggered, right?
easily triggered. Exactly, they have this very sensitive temperament, so they are easily triggered, and so they do pick up a lot of stress. And it just goes on and on over the years until it tipples over into some kind of learning disorder or mood imbalance, and of course, as you say, all the immunological problems as well.
Yeah, leaky gut. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, it's all boils down to a stress nervous system. You mentioned the endocrine imbalance, and you know, these things are real. This is not just in your head, right? This is like so much more. This is a full body experience. So let's talk about how can parents help empower their children to have confidence and be emotionally resilient.
Okay, so first of all, I would love parents who are listening to know that you cannot build your child's confidence and resilience from the outside in. It has to happen from the inside out.
So I mean like 10 million trophies from like Little League and stickers and all that stuff, that's not doing it.
That's not doing it, because actually, the truth of the matter is that confidence and emotional resilience are a chemistry. And I think that's kind of a hard thing for parents to understand, because they think of it as a personality characteristic or a trait, but it's not. Having confidence is having healthy neurochemistry, having healthy body biochemistry. It results in behaviors that look like confidence, the same with emotional resilience. So for me, what I do is I teach parents how to heal the child from the inside, from the inside out, not from the outside in. And so one of the very first things I would really encourage parents to stop doing is to try to convince the child how wonderful they are from the outside over and over again, telling them how marvelous they are and thinking that this is going to increase their confidence. Obviously, I don't want you to stop telling your child that they're awesome, but if you're thinking you're going to build confidence by telling them how smart, how pretty, how thin, how whatever it is that they are, it doesn't work that way, because the brain is so inflamed. They don't hear it anyway, and they can't hold on to it, and they don't believe it when it comes from parents. So how do we heal from the inside out becomes the question. And I have created this term, which I call inflammatory parenting versus non-inflammatory parenting. So the second how, the first how is to realize you can't do it from the outside in. The second how is, all right, from the inside out, we need to understand there's a vast difference between parenting that inflames the child's brain versus parenting that is non-inflammatory.
Wow. And I mean, I agree. All healing happens from the inside out.
It does.
All healing.
Yes. So it's the same as inflammatory foods and non-inflammatory foods. It's what you put in your mouth. But this is inflammatory parenting and non-inflammatory parenting. So inflammatory parenting is simply put as the kind of parenting, usually, of course, absolutely unintentional, but it's the kind of parenting that is raising the child's stress level causing the more secretion of the cortisol and causing the brain to be even more inflamed. And so the child displays more fight, flight, and freeze. And then the more the child does that, the more inflammatory the parent becomes, because they start yelling and they're angry, and then they start trying consequences, and they start bribing, and they start
the parent's triggered, right? Like the child's screaming, so the parent has a tantrum back.
Exactly. And then they ask me, how can I teach my child to self-regulate?
Right.
And it's like, you start with yourself to self-regulate. So non-inflammatory parenting is beautiful. It's very, very different. It's about learning how to connect with the spirit of your child. You know, I talk about my practice is called spirit, body, brain medicine, which is a little different to the way other people put it. But for me, all health and wellness of any kind whatsoever begins with a healthy spirit. So for me, when I talk about spirit, I'm not being religious or spirituality. I'm talking about this. Every single one of us has got an energetic vibration that defines who we are. It's kind of the essence of who I am. That's my spirit. And so when we have a healthy spirit that is just full of energy, what will happen is we're going to have a healthy body and a healthy brain. When we have a hurting spirit, we will have a hurting body and a hurting brain. So in my work to build resilience and confidence, the very, very first and most important tool is to be able to be non-inflammatory, and you do that by connecting with the spirit of your child, with your child's beautiful, wondrous, unique spirit.
Which you can actually do before you even conceive your child, in my opinion. And certainly during the pregnancy, that is a beautiful time to connect with the spirit of your child.
Oh no, it's so important.
And your child, I'll tell you what, these little fetus spirits are like wise old souls.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from my son during the pregnancy. I actually made some significant changes in my practice based off of his guidance when I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant. And, I think we just have to listen, right? We have to listen to see what they say.
Yes, that is so amazing, Dr. Laura, that you actually got those messages. And that's beautiful. And yes, we do. I always say our children have come to teach us, and it starts in the womb. If we listen, we will get the entire parenting manual from them, for them. Like, okay, Mom, here's the parenting manual for me. This is the way you manage someone like me. Not manage, you parent someone like me.
And that's different for every child that you have, right? They're all unique individuals, so they each have their own individual customized parenting manual.
Exactly. And unfortunately, and what we do is we arrive into the parenting role with a generational program. And then we take that generational program with all its sort of beliefs and values and behaviors, and we pass it on to the next generation, but it's often absolutely inappropriate and redundant and no longer relevant for who that child is, especially in this really challenging world. And then we pass that program on. And I do tend to think that my work is kind of it's just stopping the generational program. And
that's powerful. I mean, these generational wounds are real, and it's so important for us to become conscious as parents. And I'm going to even go out and say mothers specifically, to heal these wounds, because they're no longer serving us, and we do not need to pass them on to our children.
I'm so in agreement with you. And mothers, fathers are also really important, because they have their own generational program and their own influence on the child, because they are also wiring the child. But that mother-child relationship, right from the moment of conception, if not before, is just so powerful. And so if mom can even be the role model of moving out of the lower self into the higher self, and unburdening herself of unfinished business, then often dads will follow suit.
You're right. The mother's modeling for the father.
Yes, yes. So I think that it's interesting because you mentioned earlier, Dr. Laura, excuse me, that there is a tendency for parents to go to a healthcare provider and say, "Fix my child." And so that, if you read my website, you will see it's all about children. But I also make it very clear that I work through the parents. And yet, when they arrive or they call me and I explain, I'm not going to see your child, and I explain my reasoning for that. I do have to sometimes see the child right at the end where, something's not coming together. But most of the time, I never see the child. And when I explain it to them, you would think that they might be offended because I tell them, with all the love in the world, the trigger is you.
It's you. It's not me. It's you.
And you know what they all tell me? They all say to me, "You know what? I just knew it. I've known it intuitively all the time that it is me."
Well, that's the people that you're attracting, right? I mean, I do feel like you have to be a little bit of a higher conscious evolution to even get that, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so the work is also very much involves what I call understanding your lower self, where you're living on stress hormones. You, as a mom, are inflammatory because you're in fight, flight, freeze. And you are also using the beta waves, and beta waves only allow for negative emotions. So they learn all about understanding and recognizing their lower self parent. And then I teach them how to go into the higher self, which of course is alpha. And the vehicle for moving out of the heavy beta waves with all the problems and all the stress, the vehicle is meditation. Meditation is truly the most healing tool that any parent can have in their toolbox. It's remarkable. So we include meditation in the program that they come to, and
Is it a guided meditation? What does it look like?
well, I actually expose them to different kinds of meditation because different people respond differently. So there is some guided meditation, there's some breathing only meditation, there's some sound only meditation. Some people don't like the voice, they just like the sound. And there's mantra for some people who like that. So I expose them to all of those. They find I give them links to different ones. And then they always tell me, "Well, I love this one, Dr. Sandy," and they choose the ones that are their favorites. And they find that meditation truly, because it takes them out of that lower, heavy, negative, stress-laden self into the calm, serene alpha, joyous self, they find that it makes a huge difference in their lives. I'm not all about going back and revisiting the past and going through all that stuff because I think it myelinates all those memories, which we don't really need. I'm about admitting that that is my story. I work with their story, and then I move forward. Your story lives in your lower self. Let's take your story, rewrite it in the higher self. And it looks so different and sounds so different.
I was just having a conversation with a friend today about Kundalini yoga, which uses a lot of mantras. And she was sharing with me how like the mantras are just helping where there's stuff that it's stuck. Like there's some different mantras for different areas of your life where you're having resistance, and it just helps you move through it.
Very, very helpful. It's really good. It's such a Kundalini yoga is just wonderful. I think that one of the things that parents find very difficult is they tell me anyway, and I think it's a bit of an excuse really, and that is that I don't have time.
Yes.
I don't
Oh,
have
that's
time.
easy to say, right? Because we're all busy. We're
Yes.
all busy.
I can't meditate. I mean, 15 minutes, and there. For me, it's a case of choosing between medication or meditation.
I'll choose
So
meditation all day, every day.
absolutely. And if you can't find 15 minutes to do something that could literally change your brain waves and create such joy and calm and serenity and health, then I guess we are looking at people who are addicted to the stress.
Oh, and that is a real thing, by the way. I look at, the ER physicians and Wall Street. My husband was on Wall Street. Like that type of like things are like, oh, the firefighters, things are always on fire, right? You got to rush and save and rescue.
Yes, yes, it is. It is an addiction. And talking about addiction, a huge amount of screen addiction at the moment.
Oh, let's talk about that, please.
The children are really, really suffering from screen addiction, which, of course, the pandemic has made 1,000 times worse. Yes. And so the unfortunate aspect, I mean, there are many unfortunate aspects of screen addiction, but one of the biggest ones is that I have discovered that every child that I've ever seen who is screen addicted is a child who believes that they're not good enough. And the stress and the pain of that lack of self-worth causes them to escape into screen addiction. So they're using the screens as a way of self-medicating.
Wow. It's like a drug.
It is. It
It's an
becomes.
entry level drug.
It
Is
sure
that
is.
setting up for our children to become teenagers that are smoking marijuana and
Yes, yes.
trying other drugs? Oh my gosh.
And in addition, what it does, as you know very well, Dr. Laura, is that the screen addiction does exactly the same to the HPA axis, the dysregulates. It creates enormous stress inside the body, which these children's bodies and brains don't need anymore, cortisol and inflammation. And so when they don't have the screens, you're going to see awful fight coming out of them, screaming, yelling, shouting, fighting with their siblings and mom and dad, or even flight and freeze. They don't want to go and visit grandpa and grandma because it's so boring, because their dopamine has been risen to such a level that nothing gives them the same amount of pleasure as a screen.
Video games, I know, are very much that way too.
Yes, very much. And the people who create those know exactly what they're doing,
Social media.
how to do it. Yeah, not good. So it really does come down to moms and dads looking at themselves in a very honest and loving kind of way and saying, how am I contributing unintentionally to the symptoms my child is showing? And what am I doing that's triggering that? And then really just discovering it's not difficult. It's lovely work. It's exciting work. It's just discovering that I'm stuck in a place with an old program that's producing a lot of stress for me and my family. And I can get out of here by reprogramming myself, which then automatically reprograms the child.
So, I mean, I see it sometimes in my office where parents are in such overwhelm. It's like they can't make a massive transformation, right? Like they need some baby steps to just start making those small changes to get to that other side. So, I mean, where would they start? The 15 minutes of meditation a day, if they can just commit to that?
Well, that's a great question. I think that I have something that I call a 10-session healing program. And it's actually a combination of online videos, which they look at before they come to the live session with me. So it's combination of online coaching together with live coaching. And it's those baby steps you talk about. I take them through 10 sessions, 10 consecutive weeks, and we take those baby steps. I don't introduce the meditation until about session 4, because I get them first to understand their old generational program and to be willing to rewire it, and we do work on that. And then I also get them to understand the issue of stress so that they understand what an inflammatory parent looks and sounds like. and they can identify their own inflammatory parenting behaviors. So it's kind of like awareness first, together with knowledge, and then the tools.
Right. Wow. There's no, like, I feel like there's not enough parenting classes out there, right? Like, this is stuff that we didn't learn in school.
Mm.
And then really, where do we learn it from? We learn it from our own parents, right? And that's where these generational wounds, and our parents learned it from their parents and then their parents, and,
It's
on and
yes,
on.
you talk about generational wounds. I was just dealing with parents, new parents who's just started their 10-session program with me this morning. And so in our first session, we look at those generational wounds backwards. And Mum described exactly how she came to be feeling like she was not enough based on the way her mum and dad treated her. And then one of the questions I ask is, do you think your mom and dad felt that they were like not enough? And she could see the identical place where they did. And then she said, but I saw it in my gran and my grandpa as well. So you can see it just goes back and back and back. And dad had the same experience of feeling not enough. So he has this beautiful, wonderful, talented child who's he's 7.5, who has such a sense of not enoughness and is so stressed by that lack of self-worth, and he is in fight mode. So he is very defiant.
Right. And that's coming from his belief that he's not good enough.
Yes. Which came from mum and dad.
Wow. Which came from grandma and grandpa.
Yes.
Which came from great grandma and great grandpa. Like, it just goes back.
Exactly right.
Is this going back to Adam and Eve? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? It's true. Yes. So the other thing I think that parents find so interesting with my work is that what they didn't realize is that our thoughts and our beliefs have got an energy, and we are energetically vibrating those things all the time. So you can actually sit in your child's space and not even be talking to them, but you're energetically vibrating the stress and the negative thoughts and the thoughts of worst case scenarios and horrible possible things that go on in your head. So we just need to be aware that we are constantly vibrating energetically, and that energetic vibration is wiring the child's brain.
Right. And that is so true. I remember learning about this from Candace Pert's work, Molecules of Emotion. And she's really like the cutting edge person to speak on how our thoughts actually create the biochemistry within our bodies.
Yes. It's so interesting. And, we, as you said, where would we have ever learned about any of this before we had children? And I think that the old, I use the word old, but the sort of more conventional type of parenting programs have become redundant because they're not taking into account the neuroscience that we've now discovered, all the incredible research of how our children mirror what's going on in our brains. So to teach anything in a mechanistic fashion, as a tool, is not useful. But to teach them how to speak in ways that will change the child's neural pathway or start a new neural pathway, and how to actually nurture the new neural pathway, that's where I think parents need to go.
That's huge. It reminds me of Dan Siegel's work, The Whole Brain Child, of really understanding the normal neurological development of children and how to support them depending on what stage they're at.
Exactly. And Dan Siegel is responsible for the discovery of interpersonal neurobiology. A beautiful science, amazing science, which is the basis of all my work. And interpersonal neurobiology just says, whatever's going on in the parent is going on in the child. So constantly ask yourself, am I happy to be passing this on right now, this moment, or can I do it differently?
It really requires a lot of self-reflection on the parent's part. And, I think, one thing I've sometimes think is a misconception too, especially let's say the child is very young, right? And they're not speaking yet. Let's say they're an infant, they're a year old, whatever. It's almost like, well, because they can't talk, I can say and do whatever I want as a parent and they're not going to remember it. Like, it's kind of weird to me, but some parents believe that. I don't know. I think that's part of our cultural conditioning. And it's not until the child starts to speak back that's when it's like real. But they're picking up everything, even in utero. They're very sensitive to what's going on around them. And even their mother's biochemistry is directly impacting theirs through the umbilical cord.
Yes, yes, and to jump off from what you've just said, parents will tell me that. What did a mom tell me the other day? She said she was in the kitchen, she was chopping some onions, and she had a negative thought about. She was really mad actually because she had received a text from her ex-husband, and it made her so angry. And the child was upstairs in the bedroom. She never said a word. She's just chopping onions, angry. And the child calls down and he goes, "Mom, what's the matter, Mom? What's the matter, Mom?" So, they all tell me the same thing. From the back seat of the car, the child will ask the mother what's happening when she's had a bad thought and she hasn't said a word. So we really need to realize we are energetically vibrating all the time, and we can do a beautiful job of vibrating in the most wondrous, empowering, loving, joyous ways.
So I actually want to ask a follow-up question on that story you just shared. So I think as parents, it's important that we show that all emotions are important, right? Like there is a place for anger and sadness and grief. And we're not trying to suppress those emotions or ignore them. Right. So if life happens, right? Like if we get angry, how do we process that in a healthy way and model that for our child?
Well, I think that if we get angry, there's two ways of being angry. There's anger that comes from the lower self, which has got a bad energy attached to it. So it's going to come out all wrong, and it's going to come out in our body language, in our tone of voice, the look on our face, the look in our eyes, the tension around our jaws, and the things that we will say usually come out wrong. Then there's healthy anger, and that is anger from the higher self. And so if you are feeling anger and you can share it with your child from the higher self, it just becomes a wonderful learning moment where you talk about, I'm really feeling anger about this, and explain what it feels like. But of course always end with that it's okay, I feel this way because I'm going to feel fine in a very short time. And a lot of children don't have a clue what they're feeling inside because parents really never talk about feelings and they don't label the feelings. So if you ask a child, but why did you do that? Or what are you feeling? Especially that, what do you feel question, it often makes children very stressed because they don't know what they're feeling. They just know it's uncomfortable and
Right.
it doesn't feel safe or right, but
They
they
don't know how to
don't know what to
verbalize it.
say. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that was a really interesting point you made about anger from the higher or lower self. So, because I feel like I grew up believing that those emotions, some of those, the anger, the grief, the sadness, the fear were negative emotions. And I always kind of grouped them into that category. So if I was feeling them, it was almost like, what do I need to do to get out of that? What do I need to feel happy? Right. And not really allowing myself to feel that. And it is uncomfortable. Right. So it's also, I can see why most of us, including myself, would have wanted to move away from it. But now I've learned it's important to feel it because it will get stuck in my nervous system. And, it's not healthy to not feel all of those emotions, right? It's really important. But recognizing that, yeah, we can feel these emotions from a higher self.
Absolutely, we can. And then just to go back to your question, Dr. Laura, which I got a little sidetracked from by myself, and that is, what else can parents do for resilience and confidence? There's a tendency for parents to be very focused on the child's doing self instead of the child's being. So it's from an early age. I mean, they're looking for the right schools for the children, or when they were like 1.5 years old or something, and then it all becomes about the grades and how they're doing and how do they look and are they popular and are they sporty and athletic, and it's all about the doing. So a lot of the conversations between, for me, conversations are the most powerful healing or hurting tool. So there are a lot of conversations that are going on about their doing. How are you doing? What did you learn at school today? Have you finished your homework? Just tons of stuff with this absolute focus on their doing self.
Especially children that are overscheduled, right? With so many activities.
Yes, very much so. And parents are very proud of scheduling them, because look at how much I'm doing for my child. But there isn't even a tiny amount, well, certainly not in comparison, of conversations that go on with a child about the child's being, where it goes back to connecting with the child and the spirit of the child. What are they dreaming about? What's their opinion about something? What are their thoughts about an issue? Just connecting with the child's being and showing them the wonder of their being, and not giving them the message that they're only valuable when they are doing.
Right. That is such an important message to teach your child, because if not, we really almost create these workaholics, or, I have to do all of this to be worthy, right?
Yes.
Worthy of love.
That's so true, because, again, I'm thinking about a client I had yesterday, and this mom, wow, she's done such incredible work with a child who has some really serious, a really serious genetic disorder. She's done incredible work with her. But it's coming to a point where the child's actually not doing better and is falling backwards in her health. And I asked her, it seems like the mother has to be absolutely perfect. She has to look into everything, visit every doctor, read every article, be totally perfect with every supplement, try every solution. And I asked her, well, where did you get that from? Why is it so important? And she said, well, that's how I grew up. It was the only way I got approval or attention was if I was perfect.
And that's not a unique story either, sadly.
It is. Doesn't do either the mom any good, or the family, or the child who's receiving that perfect parenting that comes with huge stress.
Huge, because none of us are perfect, right? So
No.
you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely right.
Oh my goodness. Well, Dr. Sandy, this time has flown by. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share with our audience?
Well, I don't think so. I just want to tell parents I so honor them for all their incredible commitment to their children. And I have, my quest. If anyone's been on my website, you will see that my quest is to save the next generation, because I think they are being completely misunderstood, over medicated, over diagnosed. And there's a much simpler way for healing these children. It's all about connection, spirit to spirit connection, soul to soul connection, coming from the really healthy place inside of the parent to that wonderful healthy place inside of the child.
Beautiful. Well said, Dr. Sandy. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you, Dr. Laura. And I do have an online program, a video coaching program, as well as the live coaching. And my website is www.dr Sandy with a Y Gluckman, GLUCKMAN.com.
Wasn't Dr. Sandy so much fun? I learned so much from this episode as a parent of a 3-year-old. I'm really excited to be able to share it with my audience. And you don't have to live in Texas to benefit from working with Dr. Sandy and getting support. She does virtual sessions, and she also has an online coaching program for parents that's all about helping to build confidence in your child. And it's specifically for children aged 4 to 24 years old. So if you want more information, go check out her website at drsandygluckman.com. And also, don't forget, I have my online coaching program specifically for preconception women that are preparing to get pregnant and looking for support for natural, holistic, and thriving pregnancy and empowered birth. And you can find more information on my website at drlaurabrayton.com.